Hello and welcome back to another Jags cast. It's another new week. It's another week without football for Thistle, obviously. As you can see, we're joined by Donners and Alan Fraser, usual suspects, and we're very, very honoured again for the second time in a week to be joined by another real legend of the club. 401 appearances, 121 goals, 8 seasons in a row in double figures for goals scored, 5 of which were in the Scottish Premiership. He's a Hall of Famer. He's 4th in the all-time list. Welcome, Kris Doolan.
Thank you. Cheers. Great to see you again, lads.
Good to see you.
Great to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Nice background as well. We love that.
Cheers. Thank you. We've got plenty of them here. We've got them everywhere.
So we're going to talk throughout the seasons. We'll also talk about your academy, your favourite 3 goals, and your best 11, which includes yourself, so your 10 teammates. But going right back, we spoke to Chris Erskine last week. We spoke to Squiddy about this, but you were the same. You started in the juniors, a couple of seasons at Kello, and then moved to Talbot, and also you get capped. I think that's forgotten about. You get capped with the Scottish Junior Select. Was that, see, at that point when you're starting off in the juniors, in your head, are you thinking this is my way to the senior game, or is it I just want to play football?
I always seen it as a step towards professional football. I was really young when I went into junior football. I was still 15, and I always remember actually my first junior game. I wasn't even supposed to be playing. The manager at Kello Rovers had known my family and stuff, and they contacted me and asked me to come down and sit on the bench just to make up some numbers. And we ended up, I started the game just as I don't think it was a friendly, and played the game, done okay. Very next day, I got a phone call, do you want to come in and train with us? We have you to sign in. So I thought, I'll just go in and play and sign. So went and signed, started the very first game, and it was against Glenafton in the kind of local cup. And like I say, I was only 15 and playing against guys in their 30s and stuff like that, seasoned players who have been around. And I was actually playing wide left. And I went for this header, and a guy must have been in his mid-30s, and he's just ducked, and I've jumped, flipped over the top of him, landed flat on my back, and I've just looked up and I saw his boot, and he's lifted his boot and stamped it right off the top of my face, and I've turned my head at the last second. He just missed my eye, cut all my face wide open, and it was like, welcome to junior football, and ran away. I just sat up and I thought, oh my God, what have I done? And my dad had came to the game, and he kind of played a wee bit of junior football as well, kind of younger age, and I kind of remember looking at him and thinking, you need to smarten up here. You're going to have to think fast and move fast. And that's what I kind of learned in junior football. You learn, you get knocked down, you get back up. And it's about being able to move quick and think quick, because otherwise these guys they're there to take you out. I was a young guy, and you just get shoved about. So you have to then become a bit smart. And that was my kind of introduction to that straight away. And I always remember that, and I always remember the chat with my dad afterwards. And he was kind of saying, good learning curve now that you have to man up, you have to be wise and be smart, and you play the game that way. Yeah. And that was my kind of introduction to it. And from then on, it wasn't always like that. Junior football gets a bad reputation for things like that. But at that kind of time when I came into it, it was very much still like that. But when I went to Talbot, it obviously the football was better, and it was playing in bigger games and stuff. So that was enjoyable. But I had some great times at Kello Rovers as well. Like, some great stories and stuff like that. It's just one of these things that they kind of mold you as a person. It's great for young players because it opens your eyes up to the world of football.
Chris, is that kind of upbringing just because you're down Ayrshire? Would it have been different if it was up maybe Glasgow way or something like that? Is it do most people come through the junior ranks, or is it nowadays? Is it different? Are all the kids going to academies early doors?
I think nowadays it's more academies. Academies are more established now and have a bigger reach. I think now, if you look around the kind of bigger clubs down here, they'll all have almost full-time scouts out and about. There's a full scouting network now for clubs. That probably didn't happen. You maybe just had one two guys who would cut around and they would get to know people and they would hear people's names. And whereas I think now they genuinely have, good scouting networks in place, which they've kind of grab all the young lads at a very young age. Some are, a lot younger than I was when I was in pro youth, and they're getting them now for 7, 8 years old, and they keep a hold of them all the way up to they're about 20. Some of these boys are there for a long, long time, and unfortunately never make it through to full time, first team games, because unfortunately sometimes when you're in an academy for so long, I think you kind of lose track of what is real football. And I know that academies work really hard to make sure that these players get a taste of reality. And I'm just going back to myself and saying, I was thrown into junior football, and it is an eye opener, and you do have to learn, and it's going to sink or swim sometimes. But I think looking back to when I was kind of getting into junior football, there was more players probably going to junior football than into professional football at that time. When I was growing up, a couple of the guys running about, Chris Boyd, Kip Broadfoot, who all lived, in the same kind of area as me, Nacy, they were already in Kilmarnock, they were already in youth academy, so the kind of majority ended up going to kind of junior football. But I always seen that as a route. I just thought, what? There's more than one way to get to the top. It can't just be one person's opinion that says, you're not good enough or you're not strong enough. I'll prove whatever level I'm at that I deserve to go higher. So obviously I didn't realise just how far I could go, but I always believed I could get there.
See, at one point, were you on the Kilmarnock ground staff or something? At one point,
I was a coach there. I was doing the community programme for them. So I was coaching out in the schools. I was full time doing it. And we went out to the schools and all the kind of local area, and we would go around. We'd take football centres. We would do things on a Friday night to take all the kids off the street to stop the vandalism, and we worked alongside the kind of police and stuff like that. But they use football, and that's kind of one of the things I try and do with my own football academy, is use it as a vehicle for other things. It's amazing. It's amazing what football can teach people, and what it can help with. Social problems. It can really help with these things. So when I was doing it for Kilmarnock, actually when I came to Thistle, that was what I was doing. That was my job. When I came on trial with Partick Thistle. So it's just a great vehicle. So we've done loads of different coaching things. We ran festivals. We brought loads and loads of kids together. Just great, and it still goes strong. Kilmarnock's community programme down here is very, very good. And they've got very good coaches, so that's why it's always going to be a very good programme. But that was my job when I came into Thistle.
Thistle, of course, he played a few sort of reserve games, trial games with the reserves, and Ian McCall. It was 9th of January in 2009. Ian McCall signed you. Had he been scouting you, or had somebody been scouting you that was enough to get you in to let Ian have a look at you?
It was actually, do you know Bobby Dinney?
Really? Yeah.
Do you remember Bobby Dinney? So amazing. Bobby is absolutely amazing. He's got a book, or he might even have a couple of books. And when I first came to the club, he signed a book for my dad, because he told me the story about he was the guy who discovered Kenny Dalglish.
Yeah.
And he found Kenny Dalglish in whatever town it was in Glasgow, playing for a local junior team. And he was the man who took him onto his kind of professional career. So I think the kind of story is that Bobby had came to watch me in about 6 games, and I think I'd scored in every single game. But the one of the games he came to watch me, I was standing next to him. I wasn't even playing. And I think we'd played, I think it was a midweek game. I think it was a midweek game or something like that. And the Talbot manager had spoke to me and said, look, I'm just going to rest you. That it was a game that we should technically have steamrolled them anyway, I think. I'm just going to give you a bit of rest, blah, blah, blah. And I said, that's fine. But I had no idea Partick Thistle were watching, or any other teams were watching. So I'm standing at the side of the pitch, and two wee old guys standing next to me the full game, never said a word, just watched the game. They took their notes on the game, blah blah blah. And it wasn't until after the game that I found out that Tommy Stone had said to me that they were there watching to watch me, and I was standing next to them for 90 minutes. And then I think as soon as that game was by, I'm pretty sure we went up to play. Talbot played Stirling Albion in a kind of friendly one night, and Tucker had said to me before the game, "Look, Partick Thistle want you to come in, so play this game tonight, and then go in and trial in there. And I don't want to see you again." That was basically what he said. I expect not to see you again. So, I mean, that was about October.
That's
and
right,
I didn't actually sign until the January. I was in the longest trial in the world.
do you know, Kris, I'm just thinking there, like, this weekend is obviously the Super Bowl weekend in America, and Tom Brady's in it, and one of the things that drived him was throughout his career was he was selected 199th player in that particular draft, and it was always a chip he had on his shoulder, and he still does it this day to prove a point. See, because of your kind of football education, effectively, did you have a kind of similar kind of feeling you had a point to prove for so long?
I think you do, and I think my kind of point was that I had been at a wee taste of pro youth when I was young, and then I was out of there, and it's like, wow, all of a sudden the carpet's whipped away from you, and you either get to the point where you think, oh, that's it, done, that's me, I'll never play football, I might as well go and do X, Y, and Z, or you go the other way and you think, you know what, well, I've been dealt the hand I've been dealt, now I need to try and fix that, and I need to try and do something positive. And that was, I think that comes through the kind of way you're brought up as well. I think that's the way, my family are. They're very resilient. I think we're all the same that way, where, we will deal with things and we will push on. And I think that's just the way I looked at it, that, I know I can go and play at a higher level, and I'm going to show that. And regardless of whether that was at Keller Rovers, Hawking like Talbot, like I said, I didn't even know Partick Thistle were actually watching. But I would have went anywhere. At that stage, Jim Jeffries had came to watch me actually. I think we played Cumnock, and I'd scored twice in the derby. And Jim Jeffries was there with a couple of Alan Robertson and a couple other guys, Jimmy Clark. And after the game, there was all the talk that I was going to go to Kilmarnock, and Kilmarnock did actually get in touch with me. They did try and sign me. They tried to sign me a few times, but Jim Jeffries had actually had asked me to go to Kilmarnock, but Thistle had already contacted me and said, we want you to come in and trial. So in my head, I was thinking, I've already been stung at a young age. I think the first chance I get, I'm going for it. And it was Thistle was obviously the first chance. So although Kilmarnock were still swithering, and even when I was playing the reserve games for Thistle on trial, Jim Jeffries was there watching, and I'd scored in the 3 of them, I think.
Yeah.
And they were still contacting me. Motherwell as well was one of them. And it was always the point in my head. I was thinking, Partick Thistle are the team who have taken a chance on me. Now the bigger clubs might want me to come in, but they still might not sign me. I might come in and trial. I might not do too well. It might be too big a jump. But Partick Thistle at that time were very keen, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. When as soon as I came in, I thought, well, this just feels right for me. So why should I upset that to maybe try and go and trial at Kilmarnock or Motherwell?
You got to take your chance when it comes along. There's no point hanging.
And that was really in my head. That was really in my head, and and it was brilliant that Jim Jeffries and Mark McGee, I think, was the manager at Motherwell at the time, had both kind of insinuated they wanted me to come and trial in there, and it would have been great. But like I said, I could have went in there and still not got a contract, go in for a week's trial and be told at the end of the week I wasn't any better than what was there or whatever. And I thought, you know what, Thistle, they were definitely showing signs to me that they wanted me. And I thought, well, I'm just going to give it everything here and see what happens.
So see those 121 goals, did any of them come against Jim Jeffries or Mark McGee in the opposite?
I don't actually know. I don't actually know. By the time we were in the Premiership, Jeffries must have been away for Kilmarnock, was he not? I can't actually think.
Oh, that's a tricky question, Donners.
So you never scored and ran up to him and said, "There you go, you missed out, yeah?"
No, not at all, not at all.
Disappointing.
I actually know when I was at Kilmarnock coaching, Jim Jeffries was the manager when I was working on the community programme. And I think that was kind of maybe how we started to get wind of, me playing for Talbot and being a kind of local guy. Because he was actually the manager. So I'd actually met him loads of times before, and I knew him as a person, and I still know him as a person. And he's just a great guy. He's just one of those guys in football who everybody gets on with and everybody likes. And you see why he is who he is or how long he's been in football, because he's just a great guy. So, but like I said, at that time, it was more about me thinking about myself and going, what's best for me at this point, because I was flying in terms of, I was young, I was hungry, I was scoring loads and loads of goals. Now's the time for me to capitalise on that. And Thistle were the team that really showed they could give me a platform.
If you look at your first couple of seasons, Kris, where you made your debut the day after, pretty much the day after you signed, you come on as a sub. It was a 3-0 defeat in the cup to Inverness Cali. Your first goal a couple of weeks later against Queen of the South, who featured quite prominently in your goals record, along with Ross County and Kelly. It should be the three teams that were handouts. Do you remember your first video that you did the day you signed the club and the strip they put on you?
I do. The one size fits all. I think that was Archie's top I had on.
There's this wee kid standing in this big long thing. If anybody hasn't seen it, we'll try and actually get it added in.
Oh, we've got it. It's right now.
We'll add it in.
You got it, aye?
Oh, aye.
Oh, good.
But I mean, that first season, once you signed, I mean, that was a team. Thistle had a decent season. I mean, we finished second. I think it was St Johnstone. I think St Johnstone eventually kind of won the league by quite a bit. But it was a decent enough Thistle side as well that you were coming into and scoring goals. I mean, you finished up 5 goals that season.
Aye, and I remember when I first came in. I mean, I think the club was maybe 3rd position or something like that when I came in, 2nd or 3rd. St Johnstone were the kind of bigger team, but I actually started thinking, we've got a real chance of winning something straight away. I could come in here into a club that's already doing relatively well, and possibly winning something. And it was exciting because you look when I was coming from and the type of games I was coming from, and all of a sudden it was St Johnstone's, and it was these type of big games, with good crowds, decent stadiums, and you think, this is where you want to be. This is what football's about.
Also, that time was only 1 up, 1 down, so you get nothing for second, which when you look back on it now, it just doesn't seem fair at all.
No, that was harsh. I think at that point, and there's so much hard work goes in, and then you just your season just comes to an end if you don't win. So a good thing that they probably changed that.
I mean, the following, you had your loan to Clyde, so obviously the following season, it was kind of in and out a wee bit the following season, your kind of first full season, but I do remember that you started to see, you were scoring goals in pre-season, and you started the season quite well, but then you seem to be kind of getting left out, or you were only coming off the bench and stuff, and then I'm guessing then at that point, that's when Ian McCall thought, right, go and get some game time.
I mean, Ian McCall was great in terms of that season. I don't know how many goals I scored. I maybe chipped in with 4 or 5 goals, something like that, off the bench. But I remember him speaking to me and kind of saying, like, you're only playing 20 minutes here and there. Like, and he said, I've got no qualms about me scoring, but it's about, he said, I want you to play 90. I want to see what you can do in 90 minutes. So I'm going to put you in emergency loan, 28 days. Go. I think Clyde had a backlog of games. They had maybe 8 games to play within the next month. So I was kind of going there, and there was going to be loads of games to play. I think I played 7 or 8, whatever it was. Didn't have a single shot on target. Didn't have. I don't think we were even in the other team's half. It was horrendous. And I remember Ian McCall coming to watch one night, and he was telling me at training, be coming to watch and blah blah blah. And you better do this, you better do that. And then after the game, he phoned me to come in the office. Oh well, I need training on Monday. I need his office, and he said, I can't believe how bad it was when I came to watch you. He was like, I didn't realise it was going to be such a struggle, and the team was struggling so badly. Which, and I think but the whole point is I was there to get 90 minutes of fitness in, and and I was McCall was very much that I was to do it for myself, and to make sure that when I came back to Partick Thistle, I was ready to come back and hit the ground running. And I think things happen for a reason. And putting me out on loan, as loads of players go on loan, it's a wake up call, and that's how a lot of players should take it. When I went there, all of a sudden I went from being part time to full time, and all of a sudden I was back at part time, and I was training at night, and you were taking your own kit home, and you were bringing your own boots in, and I was thinking, I've literally just had a wee taste of full time football. I don't want to come back to part time, so I need to now knuckle down and make sure that whatever I'm doing at Partick Thistle, that I'm there to stay now, because I don't want to be in and back out within a season or 2 seasons. I want to make sure this lasts a long time.
Well, it certainly did, because it certainly did you well, because you came back, you scored the winner in the 92nd minute, the last game of that season.
South.
Yep. Queen of the South. And the following season, you were top scorer with 18 goals. And that was the season. Obviously, it started off with McCall, and then Jackie took over in April. But I mean, to suddenly it was obviously Ian McCall knew, and the coaching staff knew some of the players you were playing with, the likes of Sid, for example. I mean, that must have been great, from a learning curve as well.
Yeah, that was great. I think myself and Squiddy probably were very lucky when we came to Thistle, because the type of people who were in the squad at that point really helped. And I'm sure that there's other people who have came to the club or in other clubs who you just go and it just doesn't fit, and they don't fit in very well for whatever reason. Whereas when we went, Archie was there, Hinchy was there, Maxie was there, Sid. So you had a good core of good people who obviously were good players, but good people to have around, good professionals to learn off of. And then you also had the kind of younger ones. Pates came in, or Pates was there, Paul Kearney, Liam Buchanan, these kind of guys who all of a sudden you start to think, this is a real good blend of people and players. So I think from that point of view, I was probably quite lucky at the timing that I came in, because teams aren't always like that. I suppose it's not always as easy to just come in and fit in straight away to a football club. But I think myself and Squiddy probably at that kind of time, it was perfect. Ian McCall had definitely set a team that had a good blend of experienced players, but good people as well, and good people to learn off. I think the very first thing, when I went away to Inverness, Ian McCall had told me if I get my deal signed by the Friday morning, I can go to Inverness on the Friday afternoon for the game on the Saturday. But if I don't, he was leaving me at home. So it kind of forced me into signing that contract. So obviously we came in the Friday morning, we got it all sorted, had it signed, and then I was on the bus to Inverness. And the only thing we got when we got to the hotel was they told us who you were sharing a room with, and I was with Archie. Yeah. And all of a sudden, I was the kind of new guy, but I was in with the club captain. And straight away, you get to see exactly how a top professional prepares for a game. And I tell that to loads of people. I say, don't underestimate how much people will learn from good professionals, because even small things, like I said, the night before a game, how Archie goes about things, what does he do? That's how does he prepare for a game and the day a game. I was paying attention to that, and I think that's the type of things that they're just small things, but they lasted me my full career. And it's wee things like that I've picked up even really quickly that I would try and pass on to other players, because I think if you're going to play at a right good level and you're going to have a right good career, you need to do more than just what you do on a pitch.
So is that where you get the egg eating habit before game?
Oh no, no, that was all me. That was me that came up with that. It's horrendous. I don't
know how shambles. I was just going to say, I don't know how you can do that. I hate eggs as well. I can't eat them at all.
Oh, it's just embarrassing. You should see it. It's like I have all the windows open. I can't have the smell. I just can't deal. I have all the windows
I can't
open.
deal with it.
We clean all the pots, everything's dishwasher on. It doesn't matter. Everything needs to be away, because I cannot stand the smell of it or the taste. Nothing. But I know that's what's good for me.
But and why do you put yourself through it?
Oh, I know, it's just torture. It's only like 5 minutes. It takes me 5 minutes, but I just think, You know, I'm not eating it to enjoy it. I eat it because I know that's what works for me.
Yeah.
And you just think, again, if you're going to be a professional player, and you just have to do what's right. And that, like I said, going back to the kind of Archie thing, that was the type of things we were learning. Not the eggs and eating stuff you don't like, but you know, the type of things that you learn off good professionals and good guys to be around. Raymond, you used to come in at lunchtime sometimes.
Yeah.
Archie could walk up to the lunch, all the food, and he could probably tell you how many calories are in the plate he's put.
That's right. He used to.
He lifts 3 portions of this and portions of that, and he could probably tell you no far off how many calories are on his plate, because he's so in tune with things like that. And across his career, he's always been very conscientious of, you know, what he eats and how he trains, and that rubs off on younger players like myself when I came in. That type of thing, and that way of looking after yourself.
No, fair play to the egg thing. And at least you never had an egg accident like Kurt Broadfoot when you were cooking them.
No, well, I mean, like I said, it's just a shambles that I actually do it, but it's one of the things where it's part of my routine now. So I just go, do you know what? I'm kind of used to it. For that 10 minutes that it takes me, I'll just wolf it down and get on with it. That's the kind of main thing.
I remember the lunches on a Friday. For Heat of Friday, I was actually talking to Gordon Cameron about this, and it was literally, right. And I'm not kidding you guys, it was at Dools will back this up. It was a race to get in before Gal or Christy Elliott get in on a Friday. It would have been nothing left if the two of them were. Well,
that's a good day. For Heat of Friday was good.
That's right, for Heat of Friday. 10-11 was your first double. The start of the 8 seasons in a row. In the following season, we finished 6th under Jackie, but there was a very pivotal moment. That last game of that last season, Stuart Bannigan had started to break through onto the scene as well, and Jackie was just then starting to build what was going to be, you know, a few additions, the squad that would win the title. But I spoke to Kris about this as well. And, you know, confirmed about Jackie coming into the dressing room straight after the 2-2 Hamilton game and saying, right guys, next season we win the title.
Yeah.
That's an incredible thing to come in and say, considering he's still putting a squad together.
Yeah.
But how much belief comes from that?
I think Jackie's a great guy to have around the football club. You know, he's a good manager, very good manager. The players all like him. But one thing he's great at is spotting players. And, you know, he's got a real talent for it, a real knack for doing it. But he just knows exactly what he's looking for. And people, it's not even just that, again, going back to like what you do on a football pitch, it's not just that. He brings in people who, one, will fit into a football club and get on with people. And that builds a harmony around the club. And then everybody gets on and we're on the same wavelength, as opposed to bringing people in with their own ideas. But he'll also bring you good players with a point to prove.
Yeah.
So I think when he said that, we believed him. And I think that the reason we believe him is, one, we trust the manager. We thoroughly trusted Jackie, and anything Jackie told us, we would have believed, because of who he is as well. But more to the point where, like, you know, trust in football is earned and respect is earned. And Jackie thoroughly done that. So to all the players, we were kind of thinking, it is a big statement that when you say that, I mean, it's almost like foreseeing the future and stuff, you know, it's just madness. But at the time, you can kind of see everybody looking around going, I think we will. You know, we start to look at each other and think, looking through this squad, we've got everything. You know, looking at the players we've got from back to front as a squad, we've got everything here. And that's how we made us all feel. And I think, you know, it was a big statement to make, but I remember everybody kind of coming away from it going, next season, and then from then on, that was the aim, you know, and we were hell bent on it when we came back for pre-season. Everybody was like a machine. They came back, the mentality was great, they came back in good shape. Everybody just hit the ground running, and I think just a wee simple statement like that, but it wasn't just that he threw it out there as if, you know, it's just a wee chuck away statement. He actually meant it, and he knew he meant it. And I think from then on, it was like I said, everybody came back and they were like machines. And in pre-season, everybody was like a machine.
You could see the belief on the park from a fan's point of view. that season, and it just built and built, and it just looked like such a solid group, you know.
Yeah. It was great, and like I say, when we look around the squad at that time, we had everything. You know, we had the power and the pace and the strength, and we had ball carriers, we had finishers, but we had everything. And the good thing with that is not only as a team did we have cover all the bases on the pitch, but off the pitch, as everybody always talks about.
Yeah.
Everybody gets on. Everybody was so sociable together, and Jackie encouraged that. You know, that didn't just come just because we all get on anyway. We did get on anyway, but you know, Jackie used to encourage that, and they were always helping us with ways. You know, he would want us to go for a wee night out together. Not to say you just go mental and go crazy, but it would always be like, you know, we'd go to golf lounge and the West End. I'll do something as a team, and it was always quite just a sociable time. But it was a great time, obviously, and you see what it leads on to, that, you know, you've got a team there on the pitch who are all friendly, but who all know that they can trust each other in their own positions. And I think that was important, because we didn't have to cover for each other. We didn't have to, you know, you didn't not trust somebody on the ball. If I saw Peyton the ball, I would just make the run that I would want to make, and I would expect them to find me with the pass, or whoever it was. I think we had that kind of level of trust.
So we didn't just win the league because we signed Stevie Wallace, no.
No. Stevie will probably tell you that, to be fair. That sounds like a Lawless kind of comment, that one. He helped a wee bit, a wee tiny bit. What a guy, yeah.
Oh, something else. The funny thing was, Kris, I mean, that was 15 goals that season, but it was the one season you didn't finish top scorer, because Lawless scored more.
That's right. And he still tells me about that, yeah. And you know, the other funny thing is, who set up his goal to overtake me? Me. And I said to him after the game, I should not have given you that 1-2 back, because I knew, I think is it Dunfermline maybe? I think we're at Dunfermline at home or something like that, and we're both in the same amount of goals, and he plays a ball into me inside the box, and I lay it back to him, and he scuds it in the back of the net. And I said to him after the game, I wish I'd turned and shot myself. Like, I should not have laid that back to you. I knew you would score, and I knew you'd have a better chance of scoring than me, but I just knew you're going to overtake me now. So he still rubs that one in, aye.
I mean, it's a fantastic season, and the other big probably moment for you that season, albeit it didn't finish well, was the Ramsden's Cup. What a feeling that must have been.
Oh, it was unbelievable. I mean, I still think, even you see it again and again, and you look back, you think, wow, like when you see everybody running on the pitch, and it's just incredible. It's just no stuff you see in Scottish football, but it just shows you like the emotion that was going on that day, and just what it means to people, you know, to players, you know, to us. We were desperate to win that cup. We wanted to win everything. That was the type of people we had at the club, the type of players. We wanted to win everything. So to score so late on,
it was ridiculously late as well, wasn't it?
It was literally the last touch of the ball, I think. To take it to penalty kicks, and I genuinely believed we would win in penalties. That's how I felt. I felt at the time, you know, we've rescued the game. Now we'll win in penalties because we're flying high now. And unfortunately, it's just a lottery, taking penalties and stuff. So we went out, but it was just an incredible day. And even when I see it back now, I still think, wow, you still get that feeling when you see the goal going in, and just the emotion that comes out every day. It's still the same to this day as it was on the day.
See, after that game, so we've lost the Ramsden's Cup. We know we've got Morton midweek. How big a game that was, that, you know, coming up.
Yeah.
How long does the disappointment, or did the mentality a case of, right, forget it, it's gone, this is more important on Wednesday?
Yeah. I think that was the kind of looking at it. And you know, I think Archie played a big part in that, simply because, you know, we all knew that the league was the main aim. We all knew that for the start of the season. But obviously there's disappointment when you lose a cup final and you lose it in penalty kicks, and everybody is a bit down. But I always remember Archie being the one, you know, as the type of captain he was, who just picked you up. You know, there was no messing about, no moping. He would just physically pick you up, straighten you up, and get on with it. And if you think, And I could see him, having those chats to everybody and having the words to the team, and you just think, aye, and we had our wee moments where we were all kind of down about it, but the very next day we came into training, or whatever it was, a couple of days later in training, and we were bang at it again. And I think that was the kind of mentality of the people we had, that yes, we were disappointed because we all wanted to win it, but we knew that the bigger thing was the league.
See back to that goal, Kris. It's kind of like of those 100-odd goals that you scored. It was a knack that you had to find that bit of space in the box, in a crowded box, and a situation. It wasn't just a fluke. It happened time and time and time again.
No, that's probably my range. That's probably the distance I'm most effective from. No, I think, no, it's not a fluke. It's not a fluke. I think it's something that you can learn and you can be taught to learn roughly where you don't know exactly where the ball's going to land, of course, but there is ways of spotting roughly, and we try and teach people, or I would try and teach people that how to judge where it's going to be, because it's not a fluke. You go back to the old kind of saying where they say all the best strikers they're always in the right place at the right time, and I can't remember who it was. Was it Gary Lineker or something that said the best strikers are in the right place all the time.
Yeah.
And I thought, and I remember hearing that at a young age, and I thought, that makes sense to me, because if you're always there, if the ball comes to you once out of 100, well, you'll put it in the net. If it comes to you 50 times out of 100, you put it 50. But you need to keep being there, So I just keep, and I used to always say to myself, I will be in the box every time. All the goals are scored in the 6-yard box. Most of them are scored, very rarely do you get goals for 25, 30 yards. You get the odd one.
Yeah.
Most of them come inside the box, so you have to be in there. And then it's about, as you say, finding a wee bit of space, making space for yourself. But it's something I think you can learn. And
like you say, we like looking at, there's a common theme with two types of goals. Was the ball in, the touch and the finish. Your first touch was outstanding, and probably something that people maybe didn't recognise how good that first touch was. And the second type of goal was that one you just find space. I mean, we were watching a Hamilton goal the other night. It was a cross by Boothie into the box, and there's 16 players in the box, and you head it completely free on the penalty spot.
Yeah.
You think, well, that happens so many times, it can't be a fluke. When you look at this season, guys, I know you probably haven't seen too many of our games. The amount of cross balls we've had in the box, we're crying out for that. Obviously it's been a talent, a big success for you kind of looking back.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, I mean, was that the goal, the Hamilton one? Is that the John Lambie day?
That's right.
Was that right? Was it? I remember that goal.
Yeah.
Or was that a header for about 16 yards or something?
Right. Yeah, that's right.
I kind of I remember that one. And again, it's about, to me, you got to have relationships with the people you're playing with. And that a lot of time with strikers, that'll be fullbacks, because they're the ones who are providing a lot of the crosses. So like I say, to me, it shouldn't be a surprise. You shouldn't be surprised where the ball eventually should go, because depending where they're crossing from in the pitch will depend where they'll try and put the ball. So and that comes for practice, and it comes for spending time with your teammates and working on things properly. But I remember that goal against Hamilton. It's a long range header, to be fair. I don't know how he even managed to put it in the net for 16 yards.
See, you look at those, talking about the cup final again, but coming out, because the crowds were getting bigger and bigger throughout the season with us. So, and of course the run we were going on where we were in the league, but then to come out back to back to pretty much full houses, what's that kind of feeling like? You guys are coming out the cup final, you see, you know what the size of the support's going to be, but to actually come out the tunnel and see it, and then in the Wednesday night, obviously the game was delayed by about 10-15 minutes, I think kickoff was, and actually run out and go, oh my God, wow, look at this. This is what we've got.
The cup final was incredible in terms of, I think there's probably more people at the Morton game. I'm guessing, I don't know how many Livingston actually hold. I'm guessing it felt as if there was more at Firhill. But just when you come out to Livingston, because it's quite a small stadium and it was packed all the way around, it's a great atmosphere, and it's brilliant that Livingston have that kind of setup, because if you can fill that with two teams in a cup final, it's just a great atmosphere. But to come out and see 3/4 of the stadium I think whatever it had been in red and yellow was tremendous. But we, you know, as players, we knew the fan base was there, and the people were desperate. So to us, it wasn't surprising the amount of people who were there. But it's great when you walk out and you see how well backed you are. And then fast forward to whether it was the Wednesday night, 9,500, whatever it was, that were at Firhill that night. To see us obviously beat Morton was incredible, and it just shows you that, you know, the fan base is there. It's just that, you know, you've got to try and entice them to give them something to want to come and watch.
Yeah, for the disappointment of the, you know, the cup final to that game, it was just brilliant the way the players picked themselves up and got on with it, because, you know, a cup final, I suppose, call it a bonus or whatever, you know, but it was the league that we were after, and that night was just fantastic. Atmosphere was great. I think it was overflowing. I don't think it was 9,000. I think it was 12,000 or something, you know.
Was it?
There was certainly, everybody was sitting and anybody was standing. I mean, I know in the north, I was in the north that night, and we were like standing two behind a chair.
Right. That's right. It was a brilliant night. I mean, it just, I remember the kind of build up to that game, because before the cup final, Archie had told me I wasn't playing in the cup final. He kind of said, like, Wednesday night is the night that you need to be ready. So obviously I wasn't starting the cup final, but you still love the atmosphere. Like, you know, I obviously, you know, I wasn't the type of person, if I was told I wasn't playing, I would cry about it and I would moan about it, and I would still enjoy the atmosphere the same way everybody else did. I would still be ready to come on, and obviously I came on and scored the equaliser. But it's about, you know, to me, I was thinking, right, you know, it's fine, you know, I'll deal with it. I'm not going to be playing the cup final, but if I come on, I'm going to prove some. I didn't want to leave it as late as that, right enough. But desperate to score, and, you know, you want to score in cup finals and in any game, but scoring in a cup final is amazing, an amazing feeling. But, you know, coming on to Wednesday night, and as you said, when you look out, when we came out to warm up, actually, I think a lot of the crowd was actually
it was.
You know what it's like at games. You come out, and when the warm up's happening, there's only a few people in. You know, it's just starting to get busy. But I think in that night, if I want to remember, it was busy quite quickly. And, you know, we were coming out to warm up, and a lot of the crowd were already in, and we could think, well, this is going to be packed. That this full stadium is going to be jumping. So, and we'll be ready for it.
The rotten game, mind you, wasn't it?
Oh, it was terrible. What a letdown the game was. It was an absolute letdown. But I mean,
it was the result.
When you think back to the game, the one thing that we always laugh about was it not Tam Aware that kicked it back to us, and we went up the park, scored. I'm sure Tam Aware always says that was he was carrying an injury, or he was struggling with his hamstring or something like that. And he's went to clear the ball and didn't clear it too far or too well, straight to us. We've bombed up the park. It's been crossed over and JC's put it in the back of the net. But it was, and then Tam's obviously signed for the club. But I always remember him saying that it was him that gifted the goal that got us the league.
That's great. He claims an assist on it.
I get an assist for that one.
If we jump into the first season in the Premiership, you were pretty quick off the mark. The 3-1 away to County. You know, we started the season quite well, and then we had a wee bit of a run. But again, you scored. You were double figures again that season, a dozen goals. And I was just looking back through, and if we actually get back to the season of the title, was the start of, for want of a better phrase, competition for you. So you'd Steph Craig had come in.
Yep.
And I joked with Steph in the past, and he saw you off. He says, no, he says, I get so I get enough. And then Lyle Taylor came in 2 seasons in a row in loan spells. Connor Salmon was another one who came in. You batted everybody off, consistently scored goals no matter what. It just didn't matter who came into the club. You just kept going.
No, and it wouldn't have mattered to me, and it still wouldn't, because competition's good. Competition to me is healthy, and it gives everybody a wee edge. But, you know, in my head, I am what I am, you know, and I always think, you know, we bring big guys in because they're big and they're physical. That's great. I'll score goals because he's here.
Yeah.
You know, he'll take a lot of the the hits and stuff, I'll still score goals. Or if I'm playing myself, I'll find ways to get round about it. I never see it as, oh, he's coming to take my place, or he'll put. Yes, there was times where they put me out the team, and they would, but you know that's football, and it made me think, I'll get back in. And most of the time, I got back in because I came off the bench and scored a goal. And you would start the next week, you maybe go on a wee run of scoring or whatever. Or, but it's competition. And again, I think one of the things that I always thought in our time at Thistle was that, you know, good people were always brought in. You know, the type of people that came into the club, I don't think there was any real, for want of a better word, arseholes brought in as players. Everybody always were good players, but always had, you know, good social skills that they could get on with people. So I don't think there was ever animosity with people. And most people came in and saw it as a good challenge. You know, people probably came to the club and thought, I'll put Dools at the team. You know, and that was Ryan Stevenson. Ryan's one of my pals. And that was his stuff. I was travelling. I used to travel in with Ryan, and he would be saying, who's playing today, me or you? And he would laugh if it was him. He'd be ripping the piss out of me because I wasn't playing. And you think, but it's great. If whatever's best for the team, that's the right idea, you know. And if it gets results, then that's what's best. And I think that the people who were brought in always had that in mind. And I certainly had it in mind, obviously, but was that whatever was best for the club is the right idea. And if that meant I only come on and get 20 minutes, but I grabbed a goal, well, you know, so be it.
Right, Kris, a question I've always wanted to ask, right? Right, so you're the ultimate goal scorer in the last decade for us anyway. Adi Aziz, honestly, right, wreaked havoc for the year he was up. Right, I mean, I remember the Aberdeen game. I think it was 1-on-1 5 times with the keeper. Couldn't think Could you not teach him to finish?
He was too fast.
I mean, look,
he was too
quick. Money at this guy.
Do you know? I think the thing with Adi was what about a havoc he would cause. It didn't matter if it was Celtic, Rangers, Hamilton. He would frighten them. And I think what a tool to have in your team, that, you know, you have somebody who with that type of pace. I mean, I've seen balls land at the left back and Adi run for the right back straight across the pitch and catch him before he's had a chance to get it under control and pass it down the line. And you just think, to have that type of pace, to me, is incredible that you can. And we used it relatively well. You know, I don't think the manager expected Adi to score lots and lots of goals. I think what he used Adi for was his pace, and he did frighten people, and he was a good tool to have. It was just that, you know, as you say, it was maybe just that finishing touch that, yes, you can learn and you can be taught, but, you know, Adi's main you know, attributes were his power and his pace, and it got us up the pitch. But you know, it was a great lad to have around the team as well.
I think looking back, people appreciate that now. And they don't just look at the misses, you know what I mean, that he made. But see if he could have added that to what he also had. It'd be tremendous, you know.
Oh no, I know that, and it's like, he's a great lad. Like I say, I actually remember one of the games we played at we were at home. I think it was Motherwell. Craig Sampson was in goals, and Sammy's a friend of mine. He just kind of lives just up the road from me. And I was out warming up at the side of these goals, and Adi was clean through. I think he must have been through 2 or 3 times. And in the space of time, I was still out warming up, and he put 2 past the post, and Sammy's come out and saved one, and Sammy's kicked a by kick up the pitch, and he turned around and said, "Thank fuck you're not playing today." He said, "Who's this guy? What's happening?" And I said, "Oh, he'll probably score at one point. He's going to just keep coming at you." And so it was the way Sammy was just like, he didn't even know who he was. But you know, that pace, that strength to get you through. And all I had to work on was that finishing touch, but there was people around him, you know, who could help with that. And I think the main thing was that, you know, Archie used him for his power and his pace. And I think his teammates appreciated what he could do for us. I appreciated what he could do for us. And hopefully now people do as well.
Well, that was my wee joke at the time, was when you had your T-shirt with 100 goals on it. Adi had one with 1. But he got that belter at Parkhead and shut us all up, you know.
Exactly, and that's what I mean. Even it doesn't matter if it's Celtic or it was a Motherwell or Hamilton, whoever it was, he would frighten teams. And the more times he can get into those positions, and he was still young, and practice the finishing, then he could have scored an awful lot more.
I mind when he scored up at Dens Park, and he scored in the goal away from the Thistle fans, and he sprinted about 90 yards up there to celebrate, didn't he? Everyone else would have been knackered, not done it, but he just got there in about 1.5 seconds. But
and he was, like I said, he was a great guy as well. He was a great professional. He wanted to do well, and he had the best. He if he wasn't playing, he wasn't crying about it. He wasn't moping. He would work hard to get back in the team, and I think that was one of the attributes that he had. I think everybody just was hoping he would score a bit more goals, but like I said, that wasn't the intention. I don't think as to the sole reason why he was brought to the club.
No, he made the team score a lot of goals. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely. And like I said, we appreciated what Addy could bring, because that type of pace we just didn't have. We've had some quick players and stuff, but that type of power and pace. And like I said, I mean, I'm not joking when I say they ran to the right back, to the left back. I must have watched them do it umpteen times, and before they got it under control, he tackled them. And you just think, I would love to have that type of pace, just even for a day. It would be great. But I always think when you can't have everything, and I think you're either blistering fast, but you'll lack in other areas, or you don't have that type of pace and you make it up in other areas. So I just think that's the level that the Scottish football will be at. If you had everything, the pace, the power, the finish, you'd be down south in the English Premiership, not so much the Scottish Premiership.
Yeah, just a shame that you didn't maybe feature together more often. Remember that Dundee game when he hunted down the fullback and squared at you and you put it away? That
was one of the times he's chased the fullback, and I knew he would steal that. That was one of the things that I knew he'll probably rob him here, and I'm already heading for the box, because I think if Addy steals this, he'll cut it back to me. So it's not like by chance that I'm waiting to see. I know Addy's got to pay. I wouldn't have caught him. I wouldn't have got to him in time. He'd have cleared it up the line, but Addy will catch him.
Absolutely right.
But we'd stayed with 13-14. We stayed up. 14-15. I think we all know the big highlight of that season was the perfect hat trick against the Ackies. What a night for you!
That was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I think to score 4 in any game at any level is a huge achievement as a personal thing and as a club. But I should have probably scored 5. I keep thinking to myself, everybody else talks about scoring 4, and I just keep thinking I should have scored 5, because I had a volley right at the end. It's came over, it's landed in my right foot, and I've tried to be just too nice with it and just play it, and I've hit it just straight down the middle as opposed to just blasting it. I'd probably put it in the net. And I keep thinking to myself, I should have scored 5 that night. But when I look back at the goals and you see the goals, there's some really good finishes in it. And that night was just a night that everything I touched, or everything I went near went in the back of the net. So it was amazing that night.
Well, how do you add to a perfect hat trick? Put one in with a back healer. I mean, come on. That's just showing off.
Well, the thing is, I'd never actually scored a hat trick for Thistle. I've still not, because I went from scoring doubles to scoring 4. So when I thought at the time when I'd scored the hat trick with the back heel, like, I was delighted, thinking, yes, that's me. I've got my first ever hat trick for the club. And then 2 minutes later, Sod crosses one and I head at the back of the net and I wait 4. And it's just like, it's just the way things seem to happen. But just an amazing night. Like I say, everything that night, every time I moved into the box, the boys were able to find me in the box. I could find space, and everything that I hit went in. So it's not often you have nights like that, but it was just an amazing time.
I was just going to say, I still call that game the Nathan Eccleston game, because he got a goal.
He came on, that's right, he came on, scored the 5th one, didn't he?
I'm surprised Ryan Stevenson didn't nick that first goal off you, saying that was over the line.
We had that argument the way home. We had that, don't worry. Steve was no shy in saying it was his goal, but it definitely wasn't.